Why is it that we can sustain this like massive, almost heroic burst of motivation to eat right or exercise or, finally write that novel for a few days, only for it to eventually feel like this unbearable, soul-crushing chore?
Oh, yeah. It's exhausting just thinking about it.
Right. I mean, you know exactly what I mean. You wake up on a Monday, you're highly caffeinated, you declare that you're a completely new person, and then by Thursday evening, you're ordering takeout and telling yourself you'll just restart next week.
It's a completely universal cycle, really.
It is. And usually when we fail like that, we just blame our willpower. We think we just aren't disciplined enough. But what if discipline has absolutely nothing to do with it?
Well, it's a profound shift in perspective, isn't it? I mean, when we fail to change our behavior, we almost always diagnose it as a lack of moral fortitude. Like we're just weak.
Yeah, exactly. Like a character flaw.
Right. But the reality of human behavior is, well, it's far less about moral strength and much more about psychological architecture.
And that architecture is exactly what we are tearing down and rebuilding today. We're doing a deep dive into this really fascinating stack of sources, specifically focusing on notes, behavioral research, and some translated excerpts centered on James Clear's work, Atomic Habits.
Yes.
And we're also looking closely at the nuances captured in the Portuguese edition, which is called Habitos Atómicos.
Which, by the way, offers a remarkably rich lens on the whole subject.
It really does. So our mission for today's deep dive is to completely decode this behavioral puzzle for you.
We are going to explore why changing your daily routine isn't about, finding the perfect life hack.
Oh, thank goodness.
Right. And it's certainly not about white-knuckling your way through a new diet. It is about fundamentally changing who we believe we are.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so we'll unpack the underlying neurological mechanics of behavior change. We'll look at the highly pragmatic concept of viewing your actions as votes for your future self.
Votes. I love that concept.
It's powerful. And ultimately, we'll discuss how to consciously reinvent your identity without, losing your sense of self in the process.
Okay, let's unpack this, because before we can talk about the existential weight of completely changing our identity, we first have to understand the underlying math of habit formation, right?
Absolutely. The math is where it starts.
We have to look at how tiny, microscopic changes actually compound over time.
Well, what's fascinating here is the sheer mathematical power of the 1% improvement. And honestly, why our brains are so incredibly bad at processing it.
We are really bad at it, aren't we?
Terrible at it. Because we are culturally conditioned to believe that massive success requires, massive visible action.
Like the big movie montage.
Exactly. But the math of improvement tells a much quieter story. I mean, if you can get just 1% better each day for 1 year, the compounding effect means you'll end up 37 times better by the time the year is done.
37 times better, just from 1% a day.
Right. It's not an addition equation, it's an exponential curve.
Right, and to give this some historical grounding, the sources point to the classic story of the British cycling team. Now, I know if you follow sports or business psychology, you might have heard of Dave Brailsford, so I don't want to get bogged down in the basic Wikipedia summary here.
Sure.
But the short version is, British cyclists were terrible for a century, like historically bad.
They really were.
They won 1 gold medal in over 100 years. They were the laughingstock of the cycling world, to the point where top bike manufacturers wouldn't even sell them equipment because they thought it was bad for their brand image.
Which is just brutal.
It is. Then Brailsford takes over in 2003 with this philosophy of the aggregation of marginal gains.
Exactly. This search for a tiny 1% margin of improvement in absolutely everything.
So they redesigned the bike seats, tested different massage gels. They even brought in surgeons to teach proper hand washing to avoid colds.
Which sounds crazy for a cycling team, right?
Totally. And the craziest one to me, they painted the inside of their transport truck white just to spot dust that might get into the bike mechanics.
Yeah, that level of detail is staggering.
It is. And within 5 years, they dominated the 2008 Olympics, winning 60% of the gold medals, and went on to win multiple Tour de France titles. But here is what I really want to dig into with you.
Okay, let's do it.
Why does breaking a massive goal down into these almost absurdly small components work so well on a psychological level? Like, why the dust in the truck?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it has everything to do with cognitive load and the brain's threat response.
The threat response.
Yes. When you set a massive goal like, I don't know, win the Tour de France or lose 50 pounds, your amygdala, which is the fear center of the brain, often registers that massive change as a literal threat.
Wait, really? A threat to our survival.
Yeah, because the gap between where you are and where you want to be is so wide that it demands an overwhelming amount of energy, so it induces paralysis.
Because it just feels like completely impossible.
Precisely. The brain says, that's too much work, we can't do that. But when Brailsford tells an athlete, hey, today our only goal is to find a slightly better pillow so you sleep 5 minutes longer, the brain doesn't register that as a threat.
Oh, I see.
Right. The cognitive load is practically zero. It bypasses the fear response entirely.
That completely reframes how I've been looking at this. It's not just about the physical accumulation of, better sleep and cleaner bikes. It's about tricking your own brain into accepting change without triggering the alarm bells.
Exactly. You are slipping under the radar of your own psychological resistance.
That is so smart.
It is. But this brings up the dark side of compounding, which is the massive disconnect between effort and visible results.
Right. Because if this math works so well and we bypass the fear response, why are humans so terrible at sticking it out? Why do we quit?
Because of our evolutionary expectation of progress? I mean, for the vast majority of human history, we lived in what biologists call an immediate return environment.
Meaning you get what you want right away.
Yeah, you build a fire, you immediately get warm. You throw a spear at an animal, you immediately get food. Our brains are hardwired to expect linear, instant progress.
Right, cause and effect.
But compounding habits exist in a delayed return environment. They work on a curve.
Which our brains hate.
Absolutely despise it. This creates a deeply frustrating valley in the early stages of any endeavor, which the source material defines as the plateau of latent potential.
The plateau of latent potential, wow. It sounds like the purgatory of self-improvement.
It is exactly that. It's this latency period where you are putting in the work, you're running every day, you're studying a language, you're saving $10 a week, but the results do not cross the threshold of visibility.
You can't see anything changing.
Right, you look in the mirror after 3 weeks of eating perfectly, and your body looks identical. And the moment that realization hits, the ancient immediate return part of your brain just says, well, this is a waste of calories, stop doing this.
Yeah, the sources use this really great analogy of heating an ice cube.
Oh, I love this one.
So you're in a cold room, the ice cube is sitting there on the table, and you slowly raise the temperature. 25 degrees, 26, 27.
Nothing happens.
Right. You're putting in all this thermal energy, doing all this work, but the ice cube still looks exactly the same. It's just sitting there. 28, 29, 30, 31.
Still just a block of ice.
Exactly. Still nothing. You feel like a complete failure. But then, that 1 degree shift to 32 degrees, that changes everything. The ice finally begins to melt.
It's a beautiful visualization because it highlights that the work from 25 to 31 degrees wasn't wasted. It was simply being stored.
It's latent. I always think of it like downloading a massive file on a really terrible internet connection.
Oh, that's a great modern parallel.
Right. You're staring at the progress bar, and it's stuck at 99% for what feels like an hour. You haven't actually gotten the file yet. You can't open it. You can't use it.
It's agonizing.
You just feel like the whole system is frozen, and you want to just hit cancel and give up. But underneath, packets of data are still moving. It's just latent.
That is highly accurate. It's like the roots of a bamboo tree. They grow extensively underground for years, just building this massive foundation before the plant ever breaks the surface of the soil.
And then it shoots up, right?
Yeah, 90 feet in 6 weeks. But we have to recognize that this latency applies to negative habits as well.
Oh, right. The dark side of the curve.
The sources draw a brilliant contrast here. Good things compound, like knowledge. Warren Buffett famously notes that knowledge builds like compound interest.
But bad things compound in the exact same invisible way.
Absolutely. Think about stress. A traffic jam, a harsh email from your boss, a poor night's sleep.
Everyday stuff.
Individually, these are a 26-degree ice cube. They don't melt you. But compounded over years without release, they build up on that plateau of latent potential until one minor inconvenience, like spilling your coffee, pushes you to 32 degrees.
And you just snap.
You have a complete psychological breakdown over spilled coffee. Outrage compounds in the exact same way. Societal shifts rarely happen out of nowhere. They are the result of micro-frustrations compounding invisibly for decades before boiling over.
Which makes me wonder, How many people give up on their goals right on the edge of a breakthrough simply because we fundamentally misunderstand this latency period?
Statistically, most people give up there.
We think we're failing, but we're really just sitting at 31 degrees.
And that is why we have to structurally shift our focus away from the immediate results and instead look at the underlying systems, which leads us to the core thesis of the material.
Right. So if we know small habits are powerful, and we know we need to push through this frustrating plateau, why do we usually pick the absolute wrong habits to begin with?
It's a great question.
Or why do we fail to stick with them even when we know rationally that they are good for us?
Because we fundamentally misunderstand how to engineer change. We approach it completely backwards.
Backwards how?
Well, to understand this, the text conceptualizes the 3 layers of behavior change, kind of like the layers of an onion.
Okay, the behavioral onion. Walk me through the layers.
The outermost layer is results. This is what you get. Losing 20 pounds, publishing a novel, winning a championship, hitting a sales quota.
Okay, the outcome.
The middle layer is processes. This is what you do. Implementing a new gym routine, organizing your desk, practicing scales on the piano for 20 minutes a day.
The action.
Right. And the innermost layer, the absolute core of the onion, is identity. This is what you believe, your worldview, your self-image, your deep-seated judgments about yourself and others.
Okay, so we have results, processes, identity. Or to put it another way, it's getting, doing, believing.
Exactly. Now, the text is very careful to point out that one layer is not inherently better than another. All levels of change are useful and necessary.
So it's not bad to want results.
Not at all. The fatal error we make is the direction of the change. Most people try to change from the outside in.
Meaning they start with the result.
Yes. They start with the result they want. I want to lose weight. Then they focus on the process. I will go on a restrictive diet.
Which sounds totally normal.
It does. But they completely ignore the core identity, the underlying beliefs that drive their eating habits in the first place.
They are building what the sources call outcome-based habits instead of identity-based habits.
Precisely. And the text uses a brilliant geopolitical analogy to explain why this fails.
Oh, the democracy one.
Yes. Think about a functioning democracy versus a dictatorship. In a democracy, the action of voting works perfectly. Why? Because the underlying belief system, the identity of the entire society, supports freedom, majority rule, and civic duty.
The behavior matches the core belief.
Yes. Now imagine trying to introduce the habit of democratic voting in a totalitarian dictatorship.
It wouldn't work.
You could have the most beautifully designed voting booth, the most streamlined process, the best technology, but the habit will fail entirely. Because the core identity of the system contradicts it. The identity of the state is absolute authority. A democratic habit cannot survive in an environment whose core beliefs are fundamentally opposed to it.
Okay, I love the analogy, but I have to push back here for a second because this almost sounds like you are saying traditional goal setting is actually a trap.
How so?
Well, every corporate seminar, every self-help guru, every sports coach tells us to set SMART goals, right? Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. Keep your eyes on the prize. Visualize the outcome. Are the sources really saying that setting goals is counterproductive?
This raises an important question, and it's where a lot of people misinterpret the psychology. The sources are not saying results are bad or that you shouldn't have goals.
Okay.
Goals are incredibly useful for setting a direction. But the issue is that results alone are not enough to sustain the process required to get there.
Because they are just finish lines.
Exactly. When you start with the result instead of starting with who you want to become, the change is incredibly fragile.
Because it's entirely dependent on that finish line.
Exactly. If you only focus on the outcome of running a marathon, what happens the day after you cross the finish line?
You stop running.
The goal is gone. The external motivation has vanished. Unless you have changed your core identity during those months of training to actually become a runner, you will likely stop running entirely the next day. The behavior stops when the outcome is achieved.
Which perfectly explains the yo-yo diet phenomenon. You hit the target weight, the goal is achieved, the diet stops, and then the weight just comes right back.
Yes, because you never changed the core belief.
You were just a person who loves junk food, who temporarily starved themselves to hit an arbitrary number on a scale.
Exactly. The identity never shifted, which means true, lasting behavior change isn't actually behavior change at all. It is identity change.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me. It's the shift from doing to being.
Right.
The goal isn't to read a book, it's to become a reader. The goal isn't to learn an instrument, it's to become a musician.
Yes, exactly.
But let's dig into the neurology of this. Why is our current identity such a saboteur? Like, if I decide today, consciously, that I want to be a wealthy person, why can't I just start doing wealthy things?
Because your underlying self-image is the master operating system running in the background of your mind.
The OS.
Right. Your conscious mind is just an app running on that OS. If your core identity, your OS, is deeply rooted in being a consumer, you will naturally be drawn to spending rather than earning, no matter how much your conscious app wants to be wealthy.
The app can't override the OS.
Exactly. If you genuinely want to be healthy, but your core identity prioritizes comfort above all else, you will eventually choose the couch over the gym. Any behavior that is inconsistent with the self will inevitably fail.
It makes me think of like a literal operating system update on a phone.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
You can download a new productivity app, a new habit, but if your phone's core operating system is severely outdated, the app is just going to crash. You have to update the OS first.
That is a phenomenal way to visualize it. The sources give this incredibly powerful, concrete example of two people trying to quit smoking.
Okay, let's hear it.
So someone offers them a cigarette. Person A says, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit."
Which, I mean, that sounds totally reasonable to anyone listening. It sounds like a responsible, normal thing to say.
It does. But linguistically and psychologically, it is outcome-based. That phrasing reveals that they still identify as a smoker.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
They are a smoker who is currently trying to do something else for a while. They haven't changed their core OS.
They're still the same person inside.
Now, person B is offered a cigarette and they say, "No thanks, I don't smoke."
It's just a few words different, but it's a monumental shift in the universe of that person's mind.
It changes everything.
For person B, smoking is no longer a part of their reality. It was their past. It is not their present. They no longer identify as someone who smokes.
And that completely changes the power dynamic of the temptation. If you are a non-smoker, turning down a cigarette requires absolutely zero willpower. It's just not what you do.
It would be like someone offering you a bowl of gravel to eat.
Exactly. You don't need willpower to say no to gravel. It just doesn't align with who you are.
That is wild.
But this leads us to something I find deeply concerning about human nature. The sources discuss this concept of cognitive torpor.
Cognitive torpor. Okay, I know torpor in biology refers to a state of decreased physiological activity in animals, like hibernation. How does it apply to our brains?
Well, the brain is incredibly energy hungry. It makes up about 2% of your body weight, but consumes 20% of your energy.
That's a lot of energy.
It is. So to survive, the brain is constantly looking for ways to conserve energy. It does this by creating heuristics, shortcuts, and automated beliefs.
Okay, I'm with you.
Once it forms a belief about who you are, it puts that belief into cognitive torpor. It puts it to sleep so it doesn't have to spend energy constantly reevaluating it.
Ugh. So we just walk through life repeating these deeply ingrained mantras of self-limitation because our brain is too lazy to update them.
Exactly.
Like, I'm bad at math. I'm terrible with names. I'm just not a morning person.
Yes. And because they are in torpor, we never question them. We say them so often they carve deep neural pathways, they become invisible cages.
Invisible cage.
When you repeat the same story to yourself for years, it is so easy to accept it as a hard biological fact rather than a conditioned belief. And then there's an immense subconscious pressure to maintain your self-image.
You want to stay consistent with yourself.
Right. You will actively find ways to sabotage yourself just to avoid contradicting your own identity.
Which leads to what the text calls identity conflict. I find this fascinating. Identity is this ultimate double-edged sword. It is a superpower when it's aligned with your goals.
Yes.
But it is an absolute curse when it causes identity conflict.
It is the greatest barrier to positive change at any level, individual, corporate, or societal. Identity conflict is essentially cognitive dissonance.
Oh, so...
Well, good habits can make perfect rational sense to your prefrontal cortex. You know eating vegetables will make you live longer.
Right, the data is clear.
But if eating vegetables conflicts with your identity, say, you proudly identify as a rugged meat and potatoes person, or you associate healthy eating with a pretentious culture you resent, you will not be able to sustain the habit.
The OS rejects the app.
Rationally, it makes sense. Emotionally, it feels like a betrayal of your tribe.
So if identity is this rigid, powerful, energy-conserving operating system that we are largely unconscious of, the critical question is, how do we actually change it?
That's the million-dollar question.
If I am currently the I'm always late person and my brain has put that belief into torpor, where does a new identity even come from?
This is perhaps the most empowering revelation in the entire framework. Your identity is not set in stone. It is not etched into your DNA.
Okay.
It emerges directly from your habits. You are not born with preset beliefs about yourself. Every belief you have, including your identity, is learned and conditioned through experience.
So we aren't doomed to be the person we were yesterday.
Far from it. The text shares the etymology of the word identity, which beautifully illustrates this. It is derived from the Latin words essentitas, which means being, and identidem, which means repeatedly.
Repeated being.
Exactly. Literally translated, your identity is your repeated being. Your habits are the physical embodiment of your identity.
I love that. Repeated being. So the mechanism for changing that being is viewing your daily habits as votes.
Yes, votes.
Every time you write a page, you are casting a vote for the identity of a writer. Every time you practice the violin, you are voting that you are a musician. Every time you make your bed, you cast a vote for being an organized person.
The sources lean heavily into this analogy of an election, and it is a crucial mental model for overcoming self-sabotage.
Okay, let's hear the model.
Think about how a political election works.
Yeah.
You do not need a unanimous vote to win an election. You just need a majority.
Now, I have to jump in here and create some friction, because when I first read this voting analogy, I was pretty skeptical.
Oh, really?
Doesn't this voting concept just give people a psychological hall pass to cheat? Like, if I'm trying to lose weight, doesn't this just give me permission to eat a dozen donuts on a Tuesday and say, oh, well, it's just a minority vote, no big deal? Doesn't it lower the standard of excellence?
That's a very common pushback, actually.
Hmm.
And it's a valid concern if misinterpreted. But you have to look at the psychology of perfectionism versus the psychology of consistency.
Okay, explain that.
Perfectionism demanding a unanimous vote is incredibly brittle. If you are a perfectionist and you eat that donut, your entire identity shatters.
Right.
You think, I'm a failure, the diet is ruined, I might as well eat the whole box and start over next month. That is the real danger.
The all or nothing mindset. It's so destructive.
Exactly. What the voting analogy does is build resilience. It acknowledges human fallibility mathematically. Yes, you are going to cast some votes for bad habits. You are going to skip a workout. You are going to procrastinate.
We're only human.
But the voting model prevents the downward spiral. A single bad choice is just one vote. It doesn't overthrow the government of your mind as long as the majority of your daily votes go toward the person you want to be.
Ah, I see.
It replaces the fragility of perfection with the durability of majority rule.
Okay, that makes sense. It's like you don't become an evil villain because you littered once, and you don't become an Olympic athlete because you jogged for 5 minutes. It's the accumulation of evidence.
Yes, accumulating evidence.
Yeah.
Each habit is a suggestion to your subconscious. Like, hey, maybe this is who I am.
Right.
If you finish a book, maybe you are a reader. As the evidence accumulates, your self-image begins to shift out of that cognitive torpor. The neurological effect of a single, one-off experience tends to fade away, but the effect of habits is reinforced over time.
So the repetition is key.
Therefore, the process of habit formation is actually the deeply profound process of becoming yourself.
So we have the theory. We understand the behavioral onion. We know we are casting votes to shift our repeated being. Now, how do we execute this in the real world? How do we actively reinvent our operating system?
The sources outline a very clear, highly actionable two-step process for reinvention.
Great. What are the steps?
Step 1, decide the type of person you want to be. Step 2, prove it to yourself with small wins.
Decide the type of person you want to be. I mean, that sounds massive. That sounds like something you spend 6 months in therapy trying to figure out. Where do you even start with a question like that?
It is a daunting question. And if you aren't sure where to start, the text suggests working backwards from the tangible results you want.
Start with the outcome.
Yes, let's say you want to lose 20 kilograms, or you want to write a novel or run a successful startup. Start with the outcome, but immediately pivot to identity. Ask yourself, who is the type of person that could achieve that result?
Oh, I see. Let's play that out. Who is the type of person that writes a novel? Probably someone who is incredibly consistent, someone who doesn't wait for inspiration, someone who values routine.
Exactly.
So suddenly, my focus shifts from the daunting outcome writing a 90,000-word manuscript to the identity being a consistent, routine-driven person.
Precisely. You move from outcome-based to identity-based.
Yeah.
You aren't focusing on the book anymore. You're focusing on proving to yourself that you are consistent.
And once you have that identity in mind,
Then you start taking the microscopic steps, the 1% wins that reinforce that specific identity.
there's an anecdote in the sources that I think illustrates this perfectly, and it's about a friend of the author who lost over 50 kilograms. That's more than 100 pounds.
Yes, it's a great story.
And her secret wasn't some complex biometric macro-tracking diet or a brutal, agonizing boot camp. It was simply asking herself one specific question constantly, all day long.
What would a healthy person do?
Exactly. What would a healthy person do?
It acts as an internal compass for every micro decision.
Right. She would ask, would a healthy person take a cab for these 6 blocks, or would they walk? Would a healthy person order a side salad or a side of fries?
It's so simple, but so effective.
She figured that if she just acted like a healthy person for long enough, she would eventually become that person. She just kept casting votes for the healthy person identity, and eventually, the evidence was undeniable.
What's fascinating here is the neuroscience of what happens underneath the surface when you do this. You aren't just getting the physical results of walking more or eating fewer calories.
What else is happening?
You are building an incredible reservoir of self-trust. Every time you make the choice that a healthy person would make, you get a slight dopamine hit that reinforces the neural pathway associated with that identity.
Oh, wow.
You teach yourself that you're capable, reliable, and true to your word. When the votes increase and the internal evidence starts to change, the story you tell yourself fundamentally changes too.
So, to you listening right now, think about a goal you have. Bring it to the front of your mind. Now ask yourself, what is the identity of the person who achieves that goal?
Are they organized? Are they resilient? Are they a great listener?
And what is one tiny microscopic vote you can cast for that identity today?
That is the practical application right there. But to truly master this, to become an architect of your own behavior, we have to look under the hood.
Under the hood of the brain.
Yes. We know we need to cast votes, but how exactly does a habit form in the brain? Why are some behaviors repeated effortlessly, while others require agonizing willpower and are dropped after a day?
Right, because if it was just about deciding to cast a vote, we'd all be millionaires with six-packs. There is biological machinery at play here.
Indeed. And to understand it, the text unpacks the 4 stages of the habit loop: cue, craving, response, and reward.
Cue, craving, response, reward.
Every single habit you have, from brushing your teeth to checking your phone to biting your nails, goes through these 4 stages in the exact same neurological order.
Okay, let's break them down.
Yes. And you can divide them into 2 broader phases. The problem phase, which includes the cue and the craving. This is when your brain realizes something needs to change or be addressed.
Right.
And the solution phase, which includes the response and the reward. This is when you take physical action and achieve the neurological payoff.
To give some context on how we know this, the sources trace this all the way back to 1898. A psychologist named Edward Thorndike was doing these famous experiments with cats.
Yes, the puzzle boxes. Thorndike put hungry cats in these custom-built boxes. The cats had to figure out how to escape to get a scrap of fish placed just outside.
Which sounds a little mean, but okay.
Well, it was science. At first, it was pure chaos. They would thrash around, bite the wooden bars, meow, just random trial and error.
Just doing anything to get out.
But eventually, by accident, they would step on a specific lever that opened the door.
Boom. Reward. Fish achieved.
Exactly. But here's the crucial part. Thorndike tracked their escape times. Over successive trials, the times dropped dramatically.
They learned the loop.
Yes. The cats learned to associate the specific cue of the box and the lever with the reward of escaping and getting food. The useless thrashing movements faded away, and the useful action was heavily reinforced.
The efficiency increased.
From this, Thorndike formulated the law of effect, stating that behaviors followed by satisfying consequences tend to be repeated, and those followed by unpleasant consequences are less likely to be repeated.
Which laid the groundwork for B.F. Skinner and operant conditioning decades later. We learned that you could shape behavior with rewards and punishments.
Exactly.
But the modern, updated understanding adds a vital cognitive element that Thorndike missed the craving. The brain isn't just reacting, it's anticipating. It is a highly sophisticated reward detector.
That's a vital distinction. Neurologically, dopamine spikes not just when you get the reward, but when you anticipate it.
The anticipation is the driver.
The craving is the motivational force behind every habit. And the rule of the loop is absolute. If a behavior falls short in any of the 4 stages, it will not become a habit.
Break that down for us. What happens if one stage fails?
Well, if you remove the cue, the habit never starts. Your brain doesn't trigger the loop. If you reduce the craving, you won't have enough dopaminergic motivation to act.
Right.
If you make the response too physically or mentally difficult, you simply won't be able to do it. And if the reward fails to satisfy your initial desire, your brain logs it as a failure, and you have no reason to repeat it in the future.
Let's run some rapid-fire everyday examples to make this visceral, because this loop is running constantly in the background of our lives.
Okay, let's do it.
Example 1. Your phone buzzes on the table. That's the cue.
Right.
Your brain anticipates social connection or novelty, so you want to know who messaged you. That's the craving.
Yep.
You reach over, grab your phone, and open the app. That's the response. You read the message and satisfy your curiosity. That's the reward.
Perfect. Here's a more subtle one. Cue, you hit a complex stumbling block on a project at work.
Happens all the time.
Craving, you feel a spike of cortisol and frustration, and you want to relieve that stress. Response, you open up a new tab and start scrolling social media, or you start biting your nails.
Oh, I'm guilty of that.
Reward, you get a temporary numbing distraction and relief from the work stress. Over time, the behavior nail biting or scrolling becomes hardwired to the feeling of being stressed at work.
It's terrifyingly automatic. And that is the true danger. As these loops run thousands of times, they become completely invisible to our conscious minds.
Completely invisible.
The sources quote the psychoanalyst Carl Jung, who said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate."
It's a profound warning. When we execute a habit loop 1,000 times, our prefrontal cortex essentially goes to sleep. We stop thinking about the action entirely. We just assume the next time will be exactly like the last.
So how do we wake up? How do we break the automation?
The text suggests a highly practical tool called the Habit Scorecard, which is actually inspired by a Japanese railway safety system called point and call.
Point and call.
Yeah, in Japan, train operators physically point at signals, speedometers, and tracks and call out their status aloud like, "Signal is green," to force their brains out of autopilot and back into conscious awareness.
That's brilliant.
We can do the exact same thing with our behavior. You make a detailed list of your daily routines, from waking up to going to sleep, and you simply score them. Is this a positive, negative, or neutral habit?
And the criteria for scoring them connects right back to what we discussed earlier, identity.
Exactly.
You don't ask, is this habit going to make me rich? You ask, does this behavior help me become the type of person I wish to be? Is this a vote for or against my desired identity?
Exactly. And the most important part of this exercise is that the goal initially isn't even to change the habits. You don't judge yourself. You just observe them.
Just collect the data.
You are simply pointing and calling, turning the unconscious machinery into conscious data.
Okay, so let's say I've done the scorecard. I am ruthlessly self-aware. I know my cues. I know my cravings. I know my desired identity. But sometimes I still fail.
We all do.
I still find myself eating a sleeve of cookies at midnight or skipping the gym after work. Why? If I have the knowledge and the awareness, why does the bad habit still win?
Because you are forgetting one massive variable. You aren't acting in a vacuum. You're acting in an environment.
The environment.
And this is where the sources get into the invisible forces shaping our behavior. Context is the ultimate cue.
The invisible hand of the environment.
Yes. In 1936, the psychologist Kurt Lewin wrote an equation that fundamentally changed how we view human psychology. B equals F of PE.
Behavior equals a function of person and environment.
Right. In Western culture, we overly index on the person part of that equation. We love to think we are rugged individuals making conscious, independent choices all the time.
We like to be the hero of our own story.
Exactly. But very often, our environment is making the choice for us. The sources reference an economist, Hawkins Stern, who in 1952 described the phenomenon of impulse buying.
Oh, this is a good one.
He noted that shoppers frequently buy products not because they came into the store consciously wanting them, but simply because of where they are placed.
Right. If the chocolate is placed at eye level right at the checkout counter where you are standing idly for 3 minutes, you buy the chocolate.
Yep.
It's not a moral failure or a lack of willpower. It's a victory of environmental design by the supermarket architects.
Exactly. You were outmaneuvered by the environment. And this concept applies to our personal habits in a much broader sense. We don't just associate a habit with one specific isolated trigger, but with the entire context surrounding it.
Give me an example of that.
Well, if you try to study for an exam in the living room where you normally watch Netflix, play video games, and relax on the couch, your brain is receiving hundreds of subtle environmental cues telling it to downshift and relax, not to focus.
You are fighting the room.
You are fighting the room, and the room usually wins.
So what does this all mean? It means that relying on willpower is a fool's errand. Changing your environment is the ultimate cheat code.
It really is.
If you want to eat healthier, don't try to rely on sheer mental fortitude when there are cookies sitting on the kitchen counter. Just remove the cookies from the house. Redesign the environment.
Become the architect of your space. Make the cues for good habits glaringly obvious, and the cues for bad habits entirely invisible.
Out of sight, out of mind.
But we also have to remember that the environment isn't just physical space, it's also the people in it. The text dives deeply into the concept of belonging and tribal identity.
This is so crucial. We are, at our core, highly social tribal creatures.
We are. From an evolutionary standpoint, being banished from the tribe meant certain death. Therefore, aligning our habits with the tribe is an ancient survival instinct.
So we conform to survive.
When you join a group where your desired behavior is the normal behavior, your identity shifts from I to we.
I see.
If you join a cycling group, you are no longer just an isolated individual trying to summon the willpower to ride a bike on a Saturday morning. You are part of a collective. We're cyclists.
If you join a book club, we are readers.
Exactly. The shared tribal identity reinforces the personal identity. It makes the habit stick because it provides a deep sense of belonging.
Nothing sustains motivation better than belonging to the tribe.
If you want to build a habit, join a culture where that behavior is the norm and where you already have something else in common with the group.
Which leaves us with a powerful mandate. Become the architect of your life, not just a consumer of it. Curate your physical space and meticulously curate your social circles to make your desired identity the path of absolute least resistance.
Very well said.
Okay, I love the empowerment of that, but I have to play devil's advocate again because human nature is stubborn.
Okay, hit me.
Let's say I've done it all. I've designed my environment perfectly. There is no junk food in the house. I'm in a dedicated running club. I know my desired identity.
Sounds perfect.
Why do I still occasionally just really want to skip the run and order a pizza? Why does the bad habit still exert such a gravitational pull, even when the environment is optimized?
Because of a fundamental hardwired quirk in how our brains perceive time. It's a concept in behavioral economics called time inconsistency.
Time inconsistency. Let's unpack the mechanics of that.
To put it as simply as possible, the costs of your good habits are in the present. The costs of your bad habits are in the future.
Oh, wow. Okay, say that again.
The costs of your good habits are paid in the present. The costs of your bad habits are paid in the future. The brain heavily, disproportionately prioritizes the present you over the future you.
Why? Neurologically, why do we do that?
Again, we look to evolutionary biology. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans lived in environments where calories were scarce and predators were abundant.
So survival was day to day.
Your brain evolved to prioritize immediate survival. If you found a high-calorie food source, you ate it immediately because it might be there tomorrow. There was no evolutionary advantage to planning for retirement or worrying about heart disease in 30 years.
Which didn't really exist.
Right. So when you are making plans to lose weight, save money, learn a language, you're making plans for the future you. It's very easy for your brain to see the value in that abstractly.
Because it's a fantasy.
But when the moment of action arrives, future you is not making the decision. Present you is in charge.
And present you wants to be entertained, pampered, and fed high-calorie foods right now.
Exactly.
It reminds me of the psychology behind climate change in action. We all know conceptually that future us will suffer if we don't change our carbon habits.
Yes, great example.
But the cost of changing those habits is paid by present us giving up conveniences, paying higher taxes while the reward is decades away. So present us just keeps turning up the air conditioning.
That is a phenomenal macro-level example of time inconsistency. The sources quote the 19th century French economist Frédéric Bastiat, who summarized this paradox beautifully.
What did he say?
He wrote, "It almost always happens that when the immediate consequence is favorable, the later consequences are disastrous, and vice versa. Often, the sweeter the first fruit of a habit, the more bitter are its later fruits."
Smoking a cigarette reduces stress immediately, sweet first fruit, but kills you in 10 years, bitter later fruit.
Right.
Eating a whole pizza tastes amazing right now, but harms your health long term. Conversely, going for a run is exhausting and uncomfortable right now, but builds a strong heart for the future. The timelines of action and reward are completely misaligned.
Exactly. So how do we fix this flaw in our neurobiology? We have to artificially bridge the gap.
How do we do that?
We have to engineer ways to bring the future rewards into the present moment to satisfy the demanding present you while still serving the goals of future you.
The sources shared a great tactical story about this. There was a couple trying to eat out less. They wanted to cook at home to save money and be healthier.
A very common goal.
But cooking at home after a long day of work is a chore in the present, while eating out is an immediate, savory reward. So they created a separate savings account and named it Trip to Europe.
Oh, I love this story.
Every single time they stayed in and cooked, they immediately transferred $50 into that account.
They manufactured an immediate, visually satisfying reward, seeing the balance for their dream vacation go up to offset the immediate cost and friction of having to cook and do dishes.
It's brilliant, but there is a crucial caveat here from the source material that we absolutely have to emphasize. Otherwise, the strategy backfires completely.
Yes, this is so important.
The short-term reward you choose must align with your desired identity. If you reward a grueling workout by coming home and eating a massive bowl of ice cream, you are casting conflicting votes.
You're ruining the ballot.
You are canceling out the identity progress you just made.
It creates profound identity confusion.
Yeah.
Your brain doesn't know if you are an athlete or a glutton.
Right. But if you reward that same workout with a deep tissue massage or a relaxing hot bath or some guilt-free time reading a novel, you are casting a vote that directly aligns with the identity of someone who takes care of their body and mind.
Yes.
The short-term reward reinforces the long-term vision.
And the beauty of this system is that eventually, as the sources point out, you won't need the artificial short-term rewards as much. As the habit becomes ingrained, the intrinsic rewards take over.
It becomes its own reward.
The better mood, the increased energy, the self-respect, these become immediate enough. The identity itself becomes the primary reinforcer. You do the habits simply because it is who you are, and it feels fundamentally good to act in alignment with yourself.
It all continually circles back to identity. But that actually leads us to the final and perhaps most surprising section of the sources.
The twist.
We've spent this entire hour talking about how to meticulously build this amazing, rock-solid new identity. But is there a danger in becoming too attached to who we are?
This is the massive paradox revealed at the end of the text. Once you successfully adopt an identity, it can actually hinder your next level of growth.
Wait, really? So we do all this work to build the identity, we install the new operating system, and then it becomes a trap?
It can, if the identity becomes rigid and fragile. The lack of self-awareness is a poison, and the sources argue that constant, intentional reflection is the only antidote.
How does it become a trap?
When you cling too tightly to one specific version of your identity, it creates a kind of ego-driven pride that encourages you to deny your weak spots. You stop looking for ways to improve because you tell yourself, this is just who I am, I've figured it out.
You lose the flexibility, you go back into a new form of cognitive torpor.
Exactly. And the world is constantly changing. Circumstances change. Bodies age. Markets shift. The sources pose some very difficult questions.
Like what?
What happens to the decorated veteran when they are discharged and are no longer a great soldier? What happens to the founder when they sell the company and are no longer the CEO? What happens to the dedicated athlete when a career-ending injury strikes?
They face a catastrophic existential crisis of identity because their entire sense of self, every vote they cast for years, was wrapped up in a specific role that has now completely evaporated.
If you are rigidly attached to a single label, a single noun, you become incredibly fragile. If you lose the label, you lose yourself entirely. Therefore, your identity must be like water flexible, able to flow around obstacles, expanding and contracting, working with changing circumstances, rather than stubbornly against them.
So how do we ensure our identity remains flexible? The text suggests building in systems for regular reflection, right? Things like an annual review or an integrity report to make sure you are still acting in accordance with your underlying core values, not just blindly defending a rigid label.
Yes. It requires taking a step back, periodically, to look at the whole mountain range, not just the individual peaks and valleys you are currently standing on.
I like that visual.
It's asking yourself the hard questions. Are my current habits still serving the person I want to be today, or am I just repeating them because it's what I did last year?
I love that. And to make it unbreakable, you have to elevate the identity from a specific role to a general characteristic. You shift from nouns to verbs.
Precisely. Instead of saying, I am the CEO, which is a noun that can be taken away from you by a board of directors, your identity becomes, I am the type of person who builds and creates things.
Exactly. You can build and create things whether you are running a Fortune 500 company or volunteering at a nonprofit or planting a community garden. The core identity survives the transition effortlessly.
It's bulletproof.
Instead of, I am an elite athlete, which inevitably ends with retirement or injury, it becomes, I am the type of person who is mentally tough and loves a physical challenge. You can apply that identity to physical therapy, to hiking, to just getting through a tough week at the office.
By redefining yourself in this broader, values-based way, you maintain the important, empowering aspects of your identity, but you entirely remove the fragility. You allow yourself room to evolve.
Room to grow.
Because, as the text ultimately states, becoming the best version of yourself requires you to continuously edit your beliefs and to consistently upgrade and expand your identity.
It's an endless, beautiful process of microevolutions. There is no finish line.
If we synthesize the ultimate takeaway from all of this material, from the British cycling team to Thorndike's cats to the architecture of the brain, it's this.
Give it to us.
The real reason habits matter isn't actually because they can get you better results. Yes, they can make you healthier, wealthier, and more productive. But fundamentally, they matter because they are the only reliable mechanism we have to change our deeply held beliefs about ourselves. You literally become your habits.
Wow.
They are the channel through which you develop your deepest sense of self.
You become your habits. That is profound. It strips away all the life hack, quick fix, biohacking noise of the modern internet and gets right down to the existential core of human existence.
It does. It removes the reliance on fleeting motivation and places the immense power of transformation squarely in your own hands every single day through the smallest, most mundane choices.
Which brings us right back to where we started this hour. The murky, frustrating waters of behavior change don't have to be so muddy after all. We just have to stop obsessing over the results, stop staring at the ice cube waiting for it to melt, and start looking at the ballot box.
Yes, cast your votes.
So I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over as you go about the rest of your day or as you head to bed tonight. Tomorrow morning, when you wake up and are faced with the smallest, most seemingly insignificant of choices, hitting the snooze button or standing up, drinking a glass of water, grabbing a soda, doom scrolling on your phone, or reading a single page of a book, what if you didn't view it as a chore? What if you didn't view it as a grueling test of your willpower? What if you viewed that tiny moment as a blank ballot? What if every single microscopic action is just you quietly, steadily voting for the exact person you've always wanted to be?
A truly powerful perspective shift.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the architecture of identity. We hope you start casting those votes today. Until next time.